So rectangular to polar, you need two things as well. You need to find, this is in rectangular, so we're going x, y to r theta. R squared equals x squared plus y squared. So when we solve for r, we're going to get r equals the square root of x squared plus y squared. And then tan of theta is y over x. So we're going to put y over x, and then we're going to find the inverse of the tangent for that. And we're going to use this again in radians. So our polar coordinate point is going to be in radians. So convert the point 2, 2 to polar coordinates. This is my x and my y. So r squared would equal the square root of 2 squared. Well, let me do that in 2 steps. R squared would equal 2 squared plus 2 squared. R squared would equal 4 plus 4. R squared would equal 8. And r would equal the square root of 8, which is 2 root 2. So that's the r part. And then we have to find theta. Tan of theta is the y over the x, 2 over 2 this time. Tangent of theta equals 1. And again, this is where knowing your unit circle pretty well comes into play. If you don't know it well, obviously you can add it onto your reference sheet, but the better you know it, the faster this problem's going to go. Because I want to find where tangent is 1, if I were to look at my unit circle and you had added the tangents on, you would see it actually happens in 2 places. Pi over 4 and 5 pi over 4. Okay, that would happen in 2 spots. So the location of my original XY point is which tells you which one you're going to grab. So 2, 2 is my original XY point. Which quadrant would 2, 2 be located? First quadrant. So I picked pi over 4. If that was -2, -2, I'd pick third quadrant. So I picked pi over 4 as my theta. So then my r cosine, or r theta.
Are you ready?
Yes. Thank you. All right. So again, theta would be pi over 4, and then r theta, which is my answer here, is going to be 2 root 2 and pi over 4. So I said it yesterday, but I'll just repeat it again. If this was an open-ended question, you have to identify what's the type of coordinate you're giving, which is, this is polar, so I would write r theta equals 2 root 2 pi over 4. If it was multiple choice, obviously you don't have to worry about that. If it was fill in the blank like on WebAssign, it'll say like r theta equals, and you'll get the blank. You just have to put that second part in. Questions on that one? Okay, so then B, again, convert the point to polar. R squared equals -1 squared plus 0 squared, 1 plus 0, which is 1. If r squared equals 1, then r equals +1. It actually equals plus and minus 1, but we always choose the positive radius. And then tan theta equals 0 over -1. What's 0 divided by 1? -1. 0. Where on my unit circle is tangent 0? At 0 and pi. How do I know which one to pick? Good. This original point is -1, 0, which is pi. So my r theta this time is 1 pi. Questions on those? So those would both be quiz questions. Okay. Again, quiz would be Tuesday of next week. It's going to be one of each of the 9-4 stuff. There was 3 things in 9-4, which includes the graphing. And then it's plotting the point, finding the additional polar representation so far from this section, converting rectangular polar to rectangular. This next part, if I do a 2-part test, is where this will come into play. It won't come into play on the quiz because you won't have a calculator. But this is where we're going to learn how to switch it if it wasn't on my unit circle, and that's by using a calculator. So I'm going to show you how to use this on the graphing calculator. I don't know if all the scientific calculators do it, so I'm just going to show you the graphing calculator, okay? Notice that this time it has to be in polar, which is what we talked about last week. We have to change our mode to polar. No, last week we changed it to parametric. Now we have to change it to polar. So if you click on mode, you got to do your mode first. So mode has to be, instead of it being parametric, which is what we put it at last week, it has to be in polar. So fourth line, go over to polar. And then get out of that screen. And then everything that we're about to do is in that second apps menu, which is where we go for our degree minute second notation. You're going to see 5, 6, 7, and 8 are R to PR, R to P theta, P to RX, and P to RX. So these things down here, there's 8 would be P to RY, okay? Those are the 4 functions we're going to use. Think about what they represent. If it says R to PR, we're going rectangular to polar, and we're getting the R. If it says R to P theta, we're going rectangular to polar, and we're getting the theta part. So we'd have to do both of those to get from rectangular to polar. When it says P to RX, now we're going polar to the X of my rectangular, and then P to RY is going polar to the R and giving you the Y, okay? So, okay. We're gonna do this again. Okay, we checked 2 modes. We checked to make sure we're in radians and that we're in polar. And then this is from polar to rectangular. So we're doing polar to rectangular. So I'm gonna go second, apps, bring up that angle menu. I'm going P to RX first. And then I type that whole coordinate point in. So 2.5 comma, which is next to the parentheses, 1.58, hit enter. And that's the X coordinate of my rectangular coordinates. So X equals negative 0.023. We're gonna round to 2 decimal places. Then I wanna repeat that for Y. So I go second, apps, go P to RY, 2.5 comma, 1.58. And I get 2.499, so 2.50. So my answer is the XY, negative 0.02, 2.50.
Are we going to get calculator ones on WebAssign?
Yes, on WebAssign there is them. Okay. They're in the middle.
And are they going to make us round to the hundreds?
I don't know what it says. I can look it up. Okay. Yeah. If it doesn't tell you, usually it's hundreds. Okay, so now 100. So now I'm going the reverse for B. Convert the 0.69 to polar. So now I'm going rectangular to polar. Back to that same menu. Rectangular to polar. R is the first thing we're gonna get. 6, comma 9. And I get that R is 10.816, which would be 10.82. Repeat that again. Rectangular to polar theta, 6, comma 9, and I get theta equals 0.98. So my R theta, 10.82, comma, I dropped my Apple Pencil this morning, and now it's acting up. Oh, I'm gonna cry. And I get 0.98. So again, those questions will not be on your quiz. If I split up your test into calculator day, non-calculator day, it would be on the calculator portion of it, but I will keep you posted on it. It is on your homework though. It's like in the middle.
Wait, so we're going to have 2 parts in them?
If. That's a big if. I don't know if I could survive another 2 parts, to be honest. I hate it. I hate it just as much as you guys.
I think this hatred of yours should become only a 1 test then.
The thing is, if it is a 1 test, it's no calculator the whole time, because you'll see when we get to 9.6 it's graphing. So you definitely can't use a graphing utility. So we'll see.
Did you start grading part 2?
It's done.
Oh, it's done, part 2?
Yeah. They're both. I added part 2 onto part 1.
Oh.
So they're not 2 separate ones. Yeah, so if you look, if you are a life person. If you're a live person, I wrote it on your paper. Did I show you? Didn't show this class, I'll show you today. I wrote it right on your paper. I added the 2 scores together. I put it together. If you're an at-home person, I put it in fudge points. So you'll see 1 through 9 is your initial questions, and then fudge points on the bottom was the second part score. but then I scored the actual like PDF for the people at home, like I circled or did whatever I needed to do there. All right, that's it. Questions on 9.5? Easy stuff, right? Okay.